actually I don't have any idea about it, like zero. I don't even
but
know कि इसमें ink डाला जाता है कि dip करके क्या करते हैं वो भी नहीं पता मुझे, तो एकदम zero से आप start करेंगे तो best है.
ठीक है, बढ़िया है. So we've got largely three types of nibs over here. So one type of nib is for the drawing, and one type of nib is for regular writing, and a sort of general purpose writing nib, and the third sort of nib is for calligraphy. Let me just see whether I can find the book. So because I've got this little cubby hole here, there are actually used plates here which I forgot to put there. So typically, so if you take a look at a nib, let's take a look at this one. So this is your typical nib. And typical nibs will fit into either you have something called oblique holders, which is like this. Oblique is, a nib ko isme dal ke, or side say, we'll be writing like that. I'm sure you've seen reels and all like that. The second is a straight holders, which look like this. So you just here. So you just, kind of you just stick it in there and that's it. And even the straight holders, you've usually got two types of holders. One is, you can see, can you see this clearly, that there is one big circle and one small circle?
Yeah.
ठीक है. So the big one में आपके normal वाले nibs ऐसे वाले डलते हैं. This is like a normal type nib. So this sort of nib will fit inside like that. ऐसे. And then you've got small nibs. So the small nibs are like this one. These are called something like mapping nibs, or some people, the Japanese, they'll be called maru nibs. These are very small ones, and as you can see, but chota sa hai. And if you want to compare it with this, you'll see, it's pretty large. So ye chote wale is chote wale ke andar jayenge. So the same holder can actually accommodate two types of nibs. One of these small round ones, the mapping nibs, or the large ones. And of course, there are other types of nibs also, and different, depending on the type of nib, it would be either best suited for something like this. This I'm using this. This is a rose nib, by the way. Oh wait, this is also for writing. The rose nibs is best on an adjustable holder. This is called an adjustable flange holder. So iske bhi do tarah ke aate hain. One is the brass one, where you can actually use a plier and this way, that way karke finally us nib ke liye aapne us holder ko customize kar diya. And the second are these plastic ones, which are quite crappy. You can't really do much with it, but theek hai, they're all right every once in a while. Maybe you just got options over here. So that is that. Isme I'm going to put that nib back in there, which was okay. I've forgotten which one was inside. Anyone remembers which one was inside this?
No.
This one. Because one of these nibs now, wo mera thoda sa damage ho gaya tha, and that one was a local Chinese one. This one is not a local Chinese one. Anyway, I'll check this thing out. Okay. Oh, that's it. Okay. So in a nutshell, this is it largely. So we've got these two things over here, and you can. Oh, no wonder I wasn't sure what to do. I wasn't even using that holder. Okay, this one nib was slightly damaged, so I just put it aside. I'm going to try working on it in a while. Okay, so that is it. So now you've got different types of inks as well. And if you and different inks work with different types of nibs and all that. For example, the dip nibs typically require slightly thicker ink than fountain pen ink. Like, and most of them will also work with fountain pen ink as well. Now, if you look at the typical nib, it's got a few things happening for it. So it's got this hole over here. This hole is actually the reservoir. This hole is where via which the ink flows down. And if you can see, if you can just see this, can you see the nib opening up there?
Yeah.
So as you can see, that line goes straight till the hole, the reservoir hole. So that's where the ink actually slides down this tiny little thing and comes and goes at the tip. And when you spread it like this and you do it like that, that's how you leave a thick line, because you're actually getting the ink to spread on the page like that. Which is why some nibs, if you spread them too wide, they'll just all dump all the ink there, because as you can imagine, stretch, finally sara gir gaya. So that's how it typically works. But now let's take a look at a piece of paper and let's see what type of nibs. So let's start with the simple one. That is, let's start with the writing nibs. They're usually a little easy to work with. Oh, sorry, there are just three.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Bolina. बोलिए ना.
How do you differentiate between a writing nib and a sketching nib, nib to like draw?
Brilliant question. So a writing nib, how do I put this? Now a writing nib is it works very well for calligraphy. Let me just show you. What kind of paper will I use? Let me just pick up this table. Interesting. And by the way, if you want to try these nibs on some other sort of paper, the type that you've already got or something, you let me know. I will happy to see if I have the paper here. Then you can also use that, and then I can use that. Okay, so a writing nib is really more about the line, about the variations it makes. So you'll come across a term called line variation. So this is called the blue pumpkin nib. This is a pretty iconic nib in terms of what it does, and because it's curved over here, because it's curved, it can hold a large amount of ink. So I'm just going to dip it, and you got to dip it all the way till and slightly past that reservoir hole. So it's all done. So now if I want to write something, let me just, not very good with the whole calligraphy thing, so I'm just going to make a little guideline there. So if I want to write something, so I will, so there's something called stroke variation. In this, there are upstrokes and downstrokes. So you will say the upstroke is thin, and there's a downstroke, it is thick. So again, going up, down. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So this is called stroke variation. So in this case, its upstrokes are not that thin and its downstrokes are not that thick, but this is a nice nib for a lot of purposes. So this is one. So now when you, but how would you know what I mean by the upstrokes and the downstrokes have not much variation? Let me show you with this nib. This is this one is a blue pumpkin nib or the Bros steno nib. This one is the EF66, if I'm not mistaken. So, acha, by the way, I don't use a lot for writing. So, abhi main ye wala try karunga. Chances is I don't know how to use it very well. Sara ink dump kar dega, but I will still give it a shot. So this is like that. And can you see this one has much thicker downstrokes?
Yeah. So this
Much
one is
thicker
specifically for calligraphy.
Both of them are for calligraphy. The rose nib, all three of them, the rose nib, the pumpkin nib, and this nib. In fact, some of my other, most of the other ones are used by Japanese artists and other people like that to draw. We'll come to that. You'll find they don't have a great amount of stroke variation. So this is with the EF66, and suppose we are to use the rose nib. So the rose nib, let's pray it works. I've never. This is apparently meant for experienced people. See how much ink it's using. So as you can see, it's the upstroke is not very thin, but it has a fairly bold presence. So you can use that with it. Now, if you want to use this for drawing, it's not that you can't, but they're not really built for drawing, because drawing you might want to go up and up also, and down also, and left and right and all that. Well, these nibs are not really designed for that sort of thing. So they'll scratch in the paper. Jab up jaoge, jab aise, can you see that? You saw that what happened just now? Okay, just watch the nib. Okay, just can you see it? I don't know whether you can see this, but the tines are both separated because it's very delicate. So when these ये ज़्यादा खुल जाता है ना, तो कभी-कभी ये पेपर में अटक जाता है, और हम लोग जब ड्राइंग करते हैं तो इस तरह के पेपर में ड्राइंग करते हैं 300 GSM cold pressed. The surface is not very smooth, whereas these pens like a smooth surface. But if you're going to be, for example, you got to choose one nib both for a little bit of sketching as well as for some writing. I would choose this one, because this one's nib is made in such a way that it's much more forgiving for for rough papers. Acha, and one more thing, if you're using waterproofings, remember to like, this is a waterproofing. Remember to remember to wipe your nibs properly and clean them before this thing, because when the ink dries on that, now waterproof inks are waterproof. Largely, the India inks, they've got a component called shellac, and shellac is something that hardens when it's dry. So, what you're basically seeing when after the ink is dried is the upper wala surface is going to have shellac, a hard waterproof layer. Andar usme pigment hota hai, ink hota hai. So as a result, that's the waterproof layer. But that also tends to clog these holes over here ना, उसको clog कर देता है थोड़ी देर बाद, और जैसे जैसे डिब्बा खत्म होने लग जाता है, नीचे तक आता है, तो और भी ज्यादा thick और quick drying हो जाता है. So you just want to just take care of that a little bit. So as you can see, no black. Sara ink is already dried, so I need to probably run a toothbrush or something over this to figure that out. And here some ink has come out, so good. I don't have to just sing. So this is one. These are the calligraphy pens, and you get lots of these calligraphy libs. You can get them for the typical Gothic sort of writing. You can get them for pointed pen like this is all pointed pen calligraphy. So you can get the copper plate ones, the thin ones. The thin ones you don't really need a lot of stroke variation, just a little bit. In fact, 2-3 nibs should be coming in the next 2-3 days. Some copper plate nibs. I'm going to try that. So lots of things. So what are you really more interested in? Calligraphy or drawing? Or
Drawing.
Drawing. Chalo, theek hai. So thank you for being patient in that question.
No, but this was very interesting. So,
okay, cool.
Sid, when you are doing that downstroke and then it becomes a little thicker, that means those two points are kind of separating a little bit. That's why it's happening. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Have
and
you
the
seen
ink
those,
that is coming in between them is creating that thicker line.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right.
I can also do a close-up if you want, but but that's basically the logic. That's the logic.
Right. Got it.
In fact, there are lots of these writing nibs. There's some pretty interesting writing nibs here. Let me see. Tweezer somewhere here. Okay. So, look at this one. What do you think of that one?
What is
so
this?
that's the index nib, because the index finger is erased on that one. This is called the Shakespeare nib.
Wow.
This is the most common nib you'll find. It's a ripoff of a design, but it's the most common one you'll find. Is in every kit you buy, you'll find one nib like this. This is a normal writing nib. Acha, then this one is called a school nib. These nibs tend to rust a little bit from time to time. Ye piche wala, as you can see, rust ho gaya hai, but doesn't really make much of a difference. This is called a school nib. As you can see, iska reservoir bahut mota hai. Can you see that? It's got a big reservoir over here, so which means you can write almost an entire page. And this one has got, because basically the reservoir works on surface tension, right? Or niche atak jata hai. The same way, this one also has a reservoir underneath and one more on top. Can you see this one?
No.
Can you see it's got 2 layers over here?
Can you get it closer to the camera and hold it for just 1 second?
If I can't hear you, by the way. Sorry, I can't see my own screen. Let me see. Can you see that now?
Yeah.
You hold it against your fingers, then we will be able to see.
Oh, good idea. Good idea. Okay, chalo, I'll
against your palm or something.
Let's see whether you can see it here. Can you see this?
Not very clear. You are out of focus. Your hands are out of focus. That's why I can't see you.
Anyway, so what this one has is basically a nib like this. नीचे reservoir है और उसके ऊपर एक और प्लेट उसके अटका हुआ है, ताकि दोनों के बीच में यहाँ पर भी इंक अटक जाती है होल के ऊपर. Basically, that's what I was trying to show you. So that's a reservoir. So if you ever notice extra pieces of metal on the nib, on upper ya niche, right above the hole, that's usually a way to enhance the ink carrying capacity. So that is that. So I'm just going to put these back inside, and then you've got a whole lot of other nibs. Just for example, do I have any more interesting ones here? No, interesting ones are all done. So these are very nice, and I've got some more interesting ones coming tomorrow. So these are not very remarkable. They don't have a lot of, they don't really open up very wide. So they've got something. It's a bit of a hard nib. So if you want, we can try drawing with this, but not much really you can do with that. So this is more of a writing drawing nib. So if I put that in there, so you can. So we can write that. It's unremarkable. You try to come down. It doesn't really flex much. As you can see, not a lot of stroke variation. And it's very hard. So getting it to even flex that much needs you to really press. So it's really more of a sketching sort of thing you can sketch, but then it's long and it's unwieldy, and so it's really beach ka hai abhi though. So you don't really need to go for something like this for sketching or writing. I don't find it particularly enjoyable apart from the appearance. So that is that. So you want to, you'll also encounter one more thing called a ballpoint. Did you know the first ballpoint pens were ink pens? You will find जैसे अगर इस निब को हम थोड़ा पास से देखेंगे ना, ये वाला जो मेरे हाथ में है, you'll find the nib comes like this, right? Suppose the nib comes like this. You'll find some nibs are like this, while some are like this with a ball, little ball of metal at the bottom. So this thing, ये पेपर पर अटकता है, क्योंकि ऊपर करते हैं तो ये the fiber के अंदर अटक जाता है, ऊपर जाता है. But this ball kind of thing ensures that it kind of glides over the paper. So if you're ever looking for a daily normal writing nib, so then this is the nib for you. These sort of nibs, the ballpoint nibs. All right.
1 second, Sid. You were talking about those ballpoint nibs. So they're available on Amazon.
They're available on
Amazon or anywhere, because I have never seen like.
हाँ मिलता है ना, but there aren't. I'll tell you which one specifically to go for, because for example, I've got one nib more. I've got I think 2 ballpoint nibs. I very rarely use them, but yeah, I'll tell you which one. In fact, or you can search for it. Just search for ballpoint dip pen browse or Leonard or something like that, और वो आपको बता देगा कौन सा ballpoint है. It's just basically got a small curve at the bottom of the nib. The normal nib सीधा सा होता है ना, इसके नीचे थोड़ा सा छोटा बॉल का, just like normal fountain pens में नहीं होता, normal fountain में सारे ball point होते हैं. Have you noticed that?
But I never knew that nibs also have that ballpoint end. I never knew that. That's
why. Because those fountain pens are all ballpoint. Basically, they're all ballpoint tips, most of them.
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. Acha, so that is that. So now let's try the drawing. Now in the drawing, you've got again different types of nibs. Now, for example, this one is a very mota sa thing with a lot of space, and it basically makes these really thick lines. Why do I like fish so much? I mean, seriously, line banana fish ban jati. Anyway, so this is basically this is for thick lines. So you want to do outlines. If you notice, there's not much stroke variation because it's more for outlines, borders, and things like that. In fact, you've even got nibs, nibs that look like this. Sorry for my this thing, but can you see what I mean? Samne ye wala part, can you see that?
Flat.
You got nibs that look like this, जो सीधी line बनाते हैं. For example, poster का border बनाना है, वो ऐसा बनेगा. Some of the tips will be like this, ऐसे.
Yeah.
So this will make 2 lines with a line in between, with a white line in between. So you got lots of nibs like that. In fact, you got one specialized nib, जो ऐसे निकालता है लाइनें for it creates lines like this for writing musical scores. It actually creates lines like this. So you can write musical scores. So I'm guessing Mozart or people like that will probably have nibs like that. Anyway, so here's your basic thing, which we use this big nib for to make the outline. Now the next nib I use is, this is called a Leonard. So there are something called G-type nibs, G nibs. ये Tachikawa का G nib मिलता है, आपको Nikko का G nib मिलता है, आपको local Chinese G nibs मिलेंगे, और ये है Leonard का G nib. As you can see this? Can you see it become broad?
Yeah.
So this is a Leonard का G nib. Now इसका खासियत ये है, खासियत in the sense that I can, with this one for example, I could only do these thick strokes. और ये भी ballpoint है. I don't know if you can see this, but even this is a bit of a ballpoint. Can you see the hook?
Yes.
Okay. So that is that. Now this one, as you can see, I can make it thin and I can make it thick. Thick from here and coming thin there. So I can do these sort of variations with this, and this is meant for drawing manga and things like that. So you want to, for example, or I just want to write thin lines now. I don't want to make any thick lines, so I can make these really thin lines. Right? Or I can make the really thick ones, as you've seen. So ये इस nib का है. So what I normally do is I do my outlines, not a thing जो draw कर रहा outline, but page का borders, बड़ी outlines like that. Then the outlines where I need some degree of character, kuch dikhe, like looks like a brush stroke or a tapering, and I normally use something like this. Acha, and now we've got some medium nibs in here. Medium nibs would be maybe, yeah. So this is a Nico G nib. So this is a somewhat, what am I doing? This is a somewhat medium nib. So for example, I want to, so as you can see, so you've got a medium nib right there, and it's got some medium lines. Do some reasonable filling also with that, and that is it. But now suppose we want fine nib. So this is something I would use to create the stroke variation. मतलब कि मैंने outline उस चीज में कर दिया, inside किसी और चीज में कर दिया, और फिर इसको I will use to just create the larger lines. And maybe, oh yes, outside का वो भी करेंगे ना. Fins also we can make with this on the outside. So there you go. Achha, then, so then, for example, you want to make some of the other features there. So features I would use, something like a smaller hook or something like that. So this nib is very nice for something, for those things. I can just try to make some features. Or जब finally हमको fill करना होगा, that I'll probably use something else. So you've got this over there. Achha, now the mapping nibs. They're so fine, just absolutely love them. They're called mapping nibs, and there are also something called lithographic nibs, which are just meant for extremely fine work. Yes, sir. देखिए, the finest marker I've got is 0.3. Sorry, 0.03. So, but the finest nib I've got is a 0.01. Believe it or not. So in the fine nibs, I've got 3 of them here. 3, ouch, really fine nibs. One is this one. One is these 2. So these are my finest nibs. Now, can you see इस वाले का वो whole block हो गया?
नहीं, उतना नहीं दिख रहा है.
Okay, so I basically used that one at a time when the nib was khatam ho raha tha, uska this ink was getting over. So I'm just going to go ahead and now can you see a whole something there? And can you see this was stuck there? Can you see that?
Yeah.
So because of that, I had to redip every, like, एक छोटा सा line बनाया, फिर से वो हो गया, क्योंकि वैसे भी ink quick drying है, ये छोटा सा है ये, how do you really do that? How do you really so anyway, so I added more ink to this, and then things became all right. What is the Handa doing here? Hello, sorry. Welcome.
Oh, you can hear me. I'm so sorry.
No, I couldn't hear you. Pure telepathy. Okay, so so we've got this over there. So this is the fine one. So the fine one we can maybe, so this is it's slightly finer than that one. So we can just. So there we got some finesse. This is good for drawing, but these are not only good for drawing, but they're good for straight lines. So you're very interested in the whole Kachni thing these days. So these nibs are brilliant for the lines. You're not so good at drawing. So this one, for example, if I want to draw something, so I can, slide like that. And I can do things like that. But these are not so good at that.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is, let me use this one. I hope it works. This was blocked a little while ago. So this one is great for the lines. Nice and fine lines. So for instance, if I want to, just a second, please. It's rough, but I don't like smudging stuff. So for example, I want to draw the lines there. So you can just see the contrast now. Can you see the contrast between that fine nib and this one?
Yeah.
So that is it. So you got different types of nibs like that, and basically that's all I'm doing here. So you got these. So this nib is similar, but this is a 0.03. This one I believe is a 0.04, and that is it really. Any other distinct nibs? No, that is it. So these are your basic nibs, and then you would just use these fine nibs to create the lines, create the fills and the
this one
textures and
goes
all that.
in the beach cut
जी,
this thing, right?
इसका छोटा holder चाहिए. So,
And
but
these are
just
classified like that only, like 0.011 like that.
no.
Achha.
They're classified as fine and fine point and very fine point and extra fine and all those things.
Achha.
ये वाले Japanese हैं, and that side of the pond people they're very precise and they're very distinct. So उन पर लिखा हुआ है, but otherwise नहीं लिखा जाता. So let me try this one now. So this one is somewhat comparable to this one, to the previous one. So let's just try this. It's actually slightly thicker than the last one. So that is it. So right now, so what we've got are one nib for really thick outlines with very little stroke variation. Then the second is this G nib. This is the Leonard ka G nib, because the Leonard ka G nib is very different from this other one. ये किसका G nib था ये? This one. Actually, not this one. Oh, that pen fell down. Right. So that is very different from the Nico ka G nib, because the Nico ka G nib is not as flexible. This one is far more flexible.
What is G nib? What is G?
Can you see the G in the side? वो side में यार जो hole कटा हुआ है.
अच्छा, oh. Yeah. It is like
I think
the
was
letter
वही.
G.
Hanji. Yeah, that's what I believe. I might be wrong. It sounds like a pretty frivolous reason to name something like a G nib. But apparently all the G nibs have this thing on the side. This sort of a cut on the side. Exact same shape.
Achha.
So yeah, here's the other G nib. Yeah, इसका भी side में कटा हुआ है, वैसा ही कटा हुआ. These are two new ones. And this is what that other one looks like, the mapping nib, the Tachikawa Maru hard nib. Can you see this? It's like it's a circle, and you just have to plug it into that. So this is it really. That's how you would. Sorry.
Yeah, one question is there. You were talking about G nib, na?
Hanji.
So I guess even I have it. It came with a package or something. So can you please tell me again what is it used best for?
It's G nibs are usually meant for drawing. So. One minute, let me just see whether I can. Where is my pen? Okay, so much thumbs down here. Okay, so no, so yes, you just use for drawing. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
How do I? So you just use it for drawing. That is it, nothing else. So you can.
I have the brand is like Tachikawa or something. I can't read it properly.
Tachikawa. लेकिन आप दिखाइए ना, आप use कैसे करती हैं? So why don't you share?
I don't use it. I'm so sorry. ये मेरे साथ बस आया है ना, उसमें package में है. I use the single one ना, जिसमें कुछ G nib वगैरह नहीं है. The most basic one, the kind of nib the fountain pens have ना.
आप किसके लिए use करते हैं?
कचनी के लिए. This is Dipti.
अच्छा, कचनी के लिए G nib नहीं चलेगा मेरे ख्याल से. अच्छा, lines के लिए नहीं चलेगा, लेकिन G nib would be lovely for the outlines and all that, because as you can see, वो बहुत अच्छा वो अच्छा इसमें आपने outline देखी नहीं ना. So if I can do the outlines here, so what should I? So if you want to do kachni, so you can make some very nice outlines and all with that. And then use the other ones for lines बाद में, ne? So it makes very nice outlines, very nice. The stroke variations look a lot like a brush. So acha, this is what I've been working on, and this is entirely done with nibs.
Oh, cool.
This is entirely done with nibs and watercolor.
Beautiful.
So
Very
those
nice.
little ones, the outlines is done with the G ones, with the क्या कहते हैं इसको, G nibs, with this G nib, and this outline जो बाहर वाली मोटी लाइन बनी है वो इस मोटे वाले पेन के साथ किया था, और बाकी का just different nibs to achieve different kind of stroke outline. So I'm still working, अभी अंदर का करना है and all that. इसमें और थोड़ी, so just working on that, but this is entirely made with nibs. So that just about concludes what I had in mind. Oh yeah, writing. But that's just about it. So are there any more questions? Any questions you have? Would you like to see different inks or something?
Yes. So I actually wanted to know what kind of inks do you use for this?
Okay, so you have this is called Sumi ink. This is called Sumi ink, but it's not filled with Sumi ink. Sumi ink मैंने इसमें खत्म हो गया था. So what I have now, what I'm using is this. I'm using Speedball का Super Black ink. So this is what I'm using now. And I filled this up there, mixed the last bit over there. So this is also, by the way, the cheapest high quality ink you'll find, because this one works out to something like 800 bucks a liter, 800 bucks for 100 grams. This one. So like 8,000 bucks a liter or something. This one works out to about 4,000 rupees a liter. So about half a liter cost me about 2,200, whereas this one would have cost me 4,000 if I'd bought half a liter of that one. So as you've seen, right, inks are so expensive now, no? Really expensive stuff. So anyway, so I use them with these inks. Achha, because I use most
only black or other colors also.
No. I use a lot of inks. So this is my ink ki potli, where I have you've got this crimson. These are Camlin waterproof drawing inks. Camel.
Can
so
you
this
use
is
these things also on these nibs?
Abhi try karte hain? So and then you got, then I use a lot of these inks from time to time. These are the technical liner pens, but then but they've got some interesting colors and waterproof properties and all that. So they work differently slightly, and these are more suited for certain pens and certain inks and certain types of pens. I mean, for example, you can't fill your brush pens with this ink. वो क्लॉग हो जाएगा, बेकार हो जाएगा, because that shellac will dry hard and धीरे धीरे base से क्लॉग होकर पूरा ही बेकार हो जाएगा. So you can't use them. You got to use something else. So I'd like to try these sort of things. Let me try. So which color would you like to try? And these are your normal standard fountain pen inks. This is another nice ink. You get it. It is also one of inexpensive. But this Speedball वाला जो दिया था, अगर आप उस pack size में खरीदते हैं, there's nothing cheaper than that right now. In the market. So and the reason I'm saying cheap bar is because it's expensive hobby. Uske upar se, if you want to do something like ink washes and all those things, you're going to use a lot of ink. And if it's 8,000 bucks a liter, aap thoda sa carefully use karoge. But having said that, what I use for my ink washes for practice are this. So this is normal black ink. It is pretty crappy. It doesn't have a very good pigmentation, but it behaves like ink, and it looks like ink, and it can be diluted. So this one cost me like 300 bucks for a liter or something. So so I just use it all left, right, and center. Yep, except for whitewashing everything else. So that is that. Hanji. So that is that. So which ink would you like to use? Would you like to try to use yellow or no? Yellow dikhega nahi. Crimson, green, emerald green,
blue.
Really? I've got so many different colors, and you say blue. Come on.
Green.
Give me another one. Green. Okay, green.
Crimson. Yeah.
Crimson. Where's the crimson? Okay. So this, by the way, this thing is a toolbox होता है ना जो mechanics use करते हैं. This is a toolbox का ऊपर वाला part. So you can actually I've actually used that for keeping all this, because otherwise it was taking up too much space and very rarely used, because I mostly do black. Na? Acha, so let's
I'm getting scared that the black ink will fall. Sorry.
And if you notice, this box is beautiful. Because
it looks very nice.
Exactly. No. It's not about nice. Look at the wide base. Right? So if I'm working or mera haath lag gaya, it's not going to fall down. Please tell me your heart jumped when I pushed it. So it's not going to fall down. But if I do it with this, did you see it? It just tilted over slightly. It was stopped by this. So this could actually fall down. But this has a
That is
much
a
lower center of
Sumi ink
gravity.
packaging, is it?
जी, सुमी इंक का. अच्छा, एक चीज ध्यान रखिएगा, इन वाटर, ये इस तरह के वाटरप्रूफ इंक्स का टेक केयर नॉट टू स्प्लैश इट अराउंड. व्हेन इफ यू डू स्प्लैश इट अराउंड, ओपन इट एंड क्लीन इट नाइसली, because otherwise the top of the this thing and the underside of the lid, that shellac will bond together and it becomes very difficult to open.
Right.
Okay, so let's just try the green one. Now, let me try it with this pen. This pen is, this is the one that I've got, which is the non-ballpoint version. So let's see how this one works. Okay, so that's it. It works beautifully.
Can't really make out the color, but
you can't make out the color?
Can't see.
Oh.
Crimson.
No, this green.
Okay.
Yeah,
just for you.
You can try crimson.
Just for you to make out the color. Okay, that's what the color looks like.
Right.
So that's the color. And
Actually,
let's try the
not
crimson
bad.
thing. And these inks, by the way, are $500 for
The entire
the entire dabba. Each
That's
one 30
interesting.
ml. अब आपको पता है कि if you look at other premium inks, 30 ml itself costs $2,500 or something of the other premium inks. So this is great for practice, and later on, you can always go for the more expensive ones. Because the problem is not using the expensive ones in production. The problem is practicing with them. So let us now try this one. Now see, this is so waterproof. It's difficult to even get this one. Okay, let's try this one. Is it? Can you see this? It's not crimson by any means. Like pink, but really.
I can make out the color now. Yeah.
So this is that's your crimson, and you can use these inks also. So it's good fun. It's a nice way of creative expression, because you can stimulate variable strokes and therefore brushes with that G-nib. You can use these sort of you can use these for painting, and you can use the same inks for filling.
So if we want to do like a watercolor on top of it, we can easily do it. It won't get dissolved in the water because it's waterproof, no?
No, that should not happen. But let's try that. Let's try that also right now. So I've got some leftover watercolor here. Okay, and let me just get a little bit of water. I'm very lazy, so everything I've got is right here. Okay.
Oh, I like your dropper. This is also from Amazon, is it?
Yeah, lab droppers. I use one for this, and guess what I use this one for? Ink.
Ink.
So okay, so we got this now. Ideally you should let it dry for a few hours, but sometimes because otherwise it might not really work. But let's just give it a little more encouragement to dry, just in case it hasn't dried. And I won't try there because chances are it is not superfied. So let me just do this over here. Isn't it lovely that ink and watercolor ka effect? So there you go. No leakage, no spilling.
And over this Indian, the camel wala thing, the color.
Good question. देखें, मैंने कभी try नहीं किया. Yay, it works.
Oh, that's lovely.
हल्का सा सीप हो रहा है नहीं? But not really significant anyway. You got to try it. Try it out. And anyway,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
camel ones, you might not be doing production pieces anyway. So
Yeah.
so and the camel ones were also fresher, so they might take a little longer to dry.
Yeah.
And I didn't direct this thing here, so let me try it again with this, and I'll let you know. Let me try something properly. What it looks like. So that is it.
Very cool. And what paper are you using in this?
This particular paper is 300 GSM cold pressed. Given you know how much we all love.
It will be rough then.
It is somewhat rough, yes. Smooth paper works much better. But you also want to see some things with smooth paper. Huh? Okay, so can you? Are you able to see this line and how it's bleeding? Bleed दिख रहा है आपको हल्का सा?
Yes, yes, yes.
देखो ये तो bleed कर रहा है, यहाँ पर देखें तो bleed कर रहा है, and all that. So some papers, now you're going to have to test your papers, because some papers are really bad for this, because they cause the scratching. So the locally made papers, the local ones जो होते हैं, so they are very interesting papers for lots of different uses. But for inks and dip pens, you're going to have to see, because any ink, for example, this one, इस पर आप normal भी करिए, normal for example marker करिए, वो भी bleed कर जाता है. और क्योंकि dip pens तो paper के fabric को, paper के fiber को फाड़ते हैं, so therefore it's even more leaking and all that. You know, the blooming, I think it's called blooming. So that is that there. Any other questions, guys?
No.
Have you want to try something?
Lot of patience you need to keep dipping again and again and again and do it.
Not really, because when you देखते हैं ना, let us use that other one, which is, where is it? Okay, just let me try this one. Let me try this one. Oh. So you can, so I've got one dip now. So one dip without making the broad lines. Come on, there's no bar. अब जाके खत्म हो रहा है after so much.
Sid, in this you can so you are right now doing from left to right, no? So इसमें right to left, ऊपर से नीचे सब कुछ easily कर सकते हैं. All the directions you can easily.
No, it depends on nib to nib. So this one, for example, I can't go up very easily. I can go down much more easily. And as you can see, it's fairly this thing, because even with normal down, it's unless I really make it light, it doesn't give me that. For example, I do this way, it goes normally. If I press even the slightest bit, it mota ho gaya. But up is not that easy, because it's a pointed tip. So you can feel the friction as you're going up. Left and right and all is fine. But anyway, you're discouraged from doing this sort of fillings anyway. No? Your cross hatching has to be individual lines, so go to practice ho hi jayegi. So that is it. So yeah, so this you don't have to dip that much. The small ones. Achha, one more thing. This shape. Can you see this shape?
What shape is that?
This shape is something like. Can you see that? So this is that nib, this is where the hole is, and this is where it fits into this thing. So these are called crow quill nibs. They all follow a standardish design of this sort of design. These are called crow quill nibs, because earlier they used to use crow quills. They used to actually make it with that. In fact, I think I've got a quill somewhere here that I made. Yeah. So I was fooling around with quills. So they used to do it like this, right? Can you see this side? I was trying to cut that thing out of it. So the same sort of design is to make with the bottom feathers of crow quills, of crow feathers, and make it like that, which is why even today these quills are called crow quills. वो कौन सा निब है बेचारू आपके हाथ में?
I don't know the name, but this is what it is. If you can see, I'll show you once again. Once again, I'll find.
I can see your fan.
Let's
No.
see. Sorry.
नहीं बहुत पास है, बहुत पास है, बहुत पास है.
Is it better?
हाँ, somewhat better. So anyway, so this is why these are called crow quills. Sorry.
This is one of the pens. One said that you recommended a couple of days ago.
अच्छा, that
Manga
one.
का?
Okay.
हाँ.
Did you pick up the other nib also? Did you pick up the
No, I
nib?
didn't. You told me to wait. So this just came in
हाँ,
today.
हाँ. अच्छा.
So it has
So
got
does it?
like about 4 nibs.
हाँ, and you should be 2 of them should be very very similar. 3 of them should be very very similar.
हाँ, 3 are
one of them
very similar.
one is a crow quill, one is a 003, one is a 004. Those are fairly
Okay.
similar. And then you should have also gotten one with that covered sort of reservoir on top. That's what they always throw in.
This is there are 5 nibs in all.
हाँ, so it's useful to experiment. अगर वो वाला G वाला नहीं है तो एक G वाला आप ना वो वाला मत खरीदे जो मैंने आपको भेजा. मैं आपको एक और भेजा. मैंने आपको इसका लिंक भेजता हूँ. This is the Leonard G nib. Leonardt.
Okay.
Leonard G nib. G nib. Just pick up one of these. These are like I don't know, maybe $100 each or something like that.
ठीक है. Yeah.
So that is it. You know, Kavya, I keep thinking that I keep marveling because every time I mix up this color over here, na, it leaves a different thing. Like watercolors form pictures. Whatever you do, they form pictures. No? You could probably see something in there. And I'm really enjoying this, by the way. These are 2 of the first colors I've mixed myself. So it feels so nice that they're nice colors.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
and by
that.
the way, this was Minisoka platters, which I don't do any cooking anymore. So I thought might as well use them for something useful.
What do you mean by you don't do any cooking anymore?
I hardly cook. Very rare. I just cook for sustenance. I don't do all that fancy shit I used to do earlier.
You know what your name is saved in my phone as? Chef
What?
Sid Khullar.
अब उसको शेफ बोलोगे डूडलर करो.
I still call you chef in my mind.
oops, ये सूख गया होगा. ये देखो waterproof था, सूख गया. अब इसको देखना पड़ेगा. निकल गया. Very nice. So the good part is that this works very easily with paper. It becomes waterproof, but on this it doesn't. It is waterproof, but it's on nibs. But you can actually just scrape it off. Let me see if I've got an instance of a very very badly. हाँ, जैसे ये वाला है. It's really badly encrusted. But if your nibs get badly encrusted like that, just you can actually wipe it clean with something, or in some cases you can use some kind of steel wool if you want. But just be careful because sometimes they're this thing, and mostly that color doesn't really matter except for cleaning out the insides, cleaning out the reservoir. Push this open and see अगर इसमें कुछ अटका हुआ है, because as you can imagine इतना पतला सा लाइन है और इतने पतले से लाइन में एक छोटा सा भी बम्प आ जाए ड्राइड इंक का तो वो तो पूरा फ्लो ही रुक जाएगा ना. तो inside this, so just look at that, and as you can see inside also is really encrusted. But I haven't used this nib for a very long time with this ink, so it doesn't have that bad encrustment जो भी हो रखा था at the end. So that is it.
Wonderful. Have you tried on other surfaces, like any other than paper?
Such as?
Like wood or
Wood?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just asking, like, does it work on fabric?
Wood I have not.
Or
Fabric, chanceless.
वो blot हो जाता है ना, bloom हो जाएगा.
एक तो bloom हो जाएगा, उसके ऊपर से bloom भी नहीं होगा तो fabric it will snag, ना? It will snag. Fabric, it doesn't make sense. Fabric, just a brush. In fact, that was one of my recent biggest discoveries was that when you're doing on irregular surfaces, you've got to use brushes. Your markers and this and that.
I was using it on canvas, but it's not coming good. Not very neat.
Brush is best.
Canvas पे बिल्कुल अच्छा नहीं आया.
Problem होगा.
Then I used brush and.
हाँ जी, जैसे वो मेरे को पता चला जब मैं वो लक्कड़ पेंट कर रहा था ना, तो पहले मैंने मार्कर यूज करा था, और जब भी मार्कर्स में ये छोटा सा वाइब्रेशन होता था, मार्कर ये उड़ के चले जाता था somewhere else entirely, because you're guiding it to the same force, it goes somewhere else. But the brush is like, वो कहते हैं ना, tree टूट जाता है in a storm, grass will bend and all that. Same way, the brush just smooths over those things, and very nice.
It comes out very good on paper. Very smooth, nice.
Right.
But
So you
not
can
on
try
the
different
canvas.
papers also. You got those handmade papers. You got the smooth. Typically for this you need to use something called a vellum finish. But even with the vellum finish papers, I find some of them bloom and blot and all those things. So आपको experiment करना पड़ेगा. I literally have about 10 kilos of paper sitting there.
Vellum
for
finish
drying.
is it has like that butter paper kind of finish, right?
Vellum finish is an exceedingly smooth finish. Let me see if I can see. Yeah, so this is what I had tried. So this was Bristol Ultra Smooth, but this was not very good for ink. This was good for paper. It's really smooth and all that, but for bloom kar jata hai. So not very nice. So the best one I found so far, what I enjoy it with, are these. This paper. 300 GSM cold pressed, because even ink bhi to hai na. So of course it takes a little longer to dry because
Can
it
I
is,
ask what brand this is? Canson.
I don't know. Brustro. But this is a 25% cotton one. Whereas वो जो ये था, वो जो fish वाला था जो बनाया था ये वाला, this was 100% cotton.
How did it work on that paper?
Absolutely fine. That paper is a little prickly, little this thing, but no problem. Those nibs are very this thing, and once you practice, then you're good. Yeah, practice karina. Just mostly I use black, so try black inks, just that. Hatching, cross hatching, this thing. Just try it out. Should be fine.
Will do.
Cool.
You've shared the link to the nibs on the group.
जी, चारू के response में वो share किया था. लेकिन that is like a generic kit. If you don't want a generic kit, then you buy the nibs अलग से.
Individual ones, no?
Because that kit depends on what you want. Now I know Charu is doing Kachni stuff, so I thought that would be useful for her any case. And the cost is such that it's not. It's very insignificant. $200-300 or something, huh, Charu?
Each nib?
No,
300.
the whole set.
No, whole set. 329 or something.
So it's very ineffective, very cost effective है, और अगर सब में से आपको दो निब भी पसंद आ गए तो फिर भी ठीक ही, it's not pinch नहीं लगता कोई. You can try it out. फिर बाद में आप खरीदे ना धीरे-धीरे करके यहाँ से वहाँ से. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sid.
You're very welcome. Any other questions, guys?
No.
Nope.
Not as
All
of
right.
now.
Okay then. See you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.